Hello and welcome to the continuing series about hot foil printers. Now today I'm going to talk about our latest printer, which is the Kobo KB338. Back in 2016 we were lucky enough to take over the distributorship for Kobo for the UK, and this is the most popular model in the Kobo range. There are approximately 15 or 16 different models within the range. There are 4 smaller models that we don't actually stock because, to be honest, I'm not so happy about the quality on the smaller machines. This is one of the medium-sized machines, and I tell you, they're actually some larger than this, would you believe. I'm going to talk you through the Kobo KB338 and all the different attributes of why I think it is a good, all-round, solid, hand-operated hot foil machine. And if you've managed to see the other videos in the series, you will know how practical and down-to-earth these machines are, and I'm going to explain exactly what they do and why they would be so good for your business, whether it's a starter business or whether you're up and running and you're already printing and you want to add foil printing to your ensemble of printing products. So let's just start off and go through the anatomy of the machine and exactly what bit does what. I think we'll start off here with what looks like a complicated control box, but actually it's really very simple. So I think the first thing we must do with any machine is switch it on, and here you can see the little red light comes on that shows that you have power. The good news is, whilst it's a big tabletop machine, I think, if from memory, about 138 kilos, so it needs 2 good strong men to lift this machine onto the table. It only takes a 13 amp supply, so you can plug it in domestically and it will be ideal in a basement, in a shed, in your back room, in your workshop or in any small business. You'll notice we have 2 dials here. The first dial, or the top dial, is degrees centigrade, and it starts off at 0 degrees and goes through to 400 degrees. Whilst that sounds a huge temperature range, experienced hot foil printers will know that most things that you print will be somewhere between about 90 degrees and probably going up to about 125 degrees. There are a couple of exceptions. When you're taking your plates on and off, we go slightly higher, 135 degrees, and if we're doing sublimation foil printing or toner foil printing, that normally is done about 180 to 200 degrees. But apart from that one unusual thing, everything is done within a small sort of 35 degree range. So very easy just to move the temperature dial. You'll also notice a red light there, and when we've come up to temperature, that little light will go out. I'm just going to simulate that by bringing the temperature down, and you'll notice now the little red light has gone out. If I bring the temperature dial up, the light will go on and you'll hear that little ticking sound. Now we have the foil feed controller. Whereas the platinum machines that I showed you in other videos have what we call an automated but manual foil feed that works off a foil feed belt, this one going onto this side here has a motor. So it automatically feeds the foil through, and we can alter this dial. So if you have a small die, only a little bit of foil will be fed through. If we have a large die, then you can set for more foil to go through, and we'll come through to threading this foil through the mechanism a little bit later on. Then we have here a counter. So this will keep count of how many impressions that you have made, and each time I bring the handle down, I'll demonstrate now. Not only will you hear the motor start and whirl through, you'll also notice my counter here has gone from 0 to 1 to 2 impressions. Finally, this little thing down here, very aptly called the fuse, is because there is a fuse in there, and should you take that out or should that blow, you can easily replace the fuse. So what other attributes do we have on this machine? Here is the foil feed action, which I'm just going to come on and demonstrate in a little bit. Here we have our printing bed or printing table, and this is on a sliding mechanism that comes in and out, so it is easy for you to place your products. And on this occasion I have a black card, and I'll just place it here, and we've already created, using 2 blank plastic credit cards, a little L-shaped gauge or lay guide, so each time we put the card in, it will go to exactly the same position. We can bring the handle down and make an impression. Looking over then on this side, this is the foil rewind. So as the foil comes off here, it is all collected up on this end and feeds through, so you can then collect all your waste foil and throw it away when the spool is full. Coming up to the top of the machine, this is sort of the business end of things, and this machine is called a direct action or toggle action machine. Each time you make an impression, you can lock out the pressure and create a constant and even amount of pressure. On smaller, less expensive machines, you're often relying on your hand pressure. Did I bring it down enough? Did I bring it down hard enough? On this machine, as long as you've set it up correctly, each time you bring this handle down, you'll hear it sort of click or lock out. And that positive sound, that positive action, means you're applying a constant and even amount of pressure. To alter the pressure, there is one place that I'm going to show you, and one I will mention. So here at the top we have the pressure screw, and here we have our locking nut. So what I'm going to do is just undo the locking nut slightly. Now I can move my pressure screw up and down, and this will raise my head and lower my head to be lower or higher. On this machine we can put items in that are as thin as a piece of tissue paper, or as thick as maybe, I think, about 1 inch, so something like a diary or a book cover, certainly key fob, coaster, bookmark, but anything up to about 1 inch thick can go into here. This is a flatbed machine, so unlike the Plattons where you have 4 or 5 screws at the back and you can alter the pressure, here you've got 1 screw. Literally, it's more pressure or less pressure. And once you've found your pressure, you tighten your locking nut up like so, and then your pressure will not move. Untighten the locking nut and we can now start to move this head up or down. Finally, let's come to this part. This is a little caution plate. I'll just take that off. And the reason that is there is because this is the heated area and this is hot. This is sort of the business end. Now, I said earlier on you can alter the pressure in 2 places on this machine. This is where we should normally alter the pressure, but if you do have a slight variance, you've got 4 screws there and you can very slightly alter the pressure on those. Now, I do recommend try not to move these too often. Once you've set the machine, once you've balanced the machine, you should really very rarely have to move these 4, but just so you know, you do have that slight adjustment. So, coming down, this here is our heated die mounting block. The machine has an 8 by 5 inch print area, so really quite generous. You can also get for this machine a slightly larger block. This one is 8 inches by 6, and we're going to come on to this one a little bit later on. But it's very generous and one of the largest hand-operated hot foil machines on the market. Any machine that's got a print area much over 9 inches by 6 inches, I know what you're going to say, I've got to try and convert it now into metric. So metric is about 225 millimeters by around 150 millimeters, I think. Don't hold me to that. Anything above that, you really can't get enough pressure with a hand machine. You need to go to a more automated or pneumatic type of machine. So a big 8x5 inch solid print area. We can actually take out that solid chase by undoing the nuts either on one side or the other, and the machine comes with a small toolbox with various Allen keys and also with various spanners to be able to fit the machine, but any spanner and Allen key should work. We can take out this die mounting block and we can use this thing here. Now this is called a printer's chase. And what I mean by that is it's a fancy word for a metal frame. So instead of having a solid front, you'll notice here we've got a frame, and within the frame we've actually put at the moment this one, which is a cutting die. Now the chase can be used for a number of different things. We can use the chase for setting old-fashioned type. We can use it for the cutting die. And here we've got one in the shape of a Christmas tree, so each time I make an impression I can cut out a Christmas tree shape. It could be a square shape, a heart shape, a round shape, whatever will fit into this area. And as if by magic, here's something we had earlier. This is a printer's Leibinger numbering box. And if you want to number something like plastic cards, or you want to number invoices, it may not be the quickest or the most efficient method to be able to use a hot foil machine, but if you've got nothing else, it's ideal. And each time you make an impression, it depresses the number and the numbers spin round going backwards. So it could be backwards from 1,000 to number 1 or 100 back to number 1, but you can set it wherever you want. Then the next thing you can do with the chase is we can add in this material. This is a printer's creasing bar, or it could be a printer's perforating bar, so you could do simple creasing and simple perforating using the hot foil machine. So let me just come back, and finally I want to talk to you about this. This is a standard die mounting block, and onto this die mounting block we've got this unusual pink looking material. This is what we call a sublimation plate. So what I've done is I've either stuck this onto the die mounting block, or you could drill 4 holes and screw it into your die mounting block, and then you can turn the machine from a regular hot foil printer into a toner foil printer or a sublimation foil printer. Now there are machines on the market where you can do A4 and A3 toner foiling. A dedicated machine will cost you somewhere in the region of just under £2,000, and they're very good machines. But if you don't have that budget, but you do have one of these machines, by the addition of one of these plates, which is around or just under an A5 size, and the correct foil on your machine, you can do that toner or sublimation foil printing, which is putting a metallic colour over a black and white toner image. Let's just recap very shortly. This is a hot foil machine, this is a flatbed machine with an 8x5 inch print area, with an automated foil feed, a locking or toggle action, and you'll be able to hot foil print onto paper, plastic, leather, vinyl, wood, card. You'll be able to die cut with the machine. You're able to use type and typeset with the machine. And when I talk about typesetting, either simple typesetting or slightly more complicated, but it's not the ideal machine for doing that initialing. You probably want a slightly different machine if you want to do the initialing on things like wallet covers or bookmarks or leather goods that you'll find in fancy department stores. So you can typeset, die cut, we can number, we can sublimation foil print, do simple perforating and simple creasing. And this is what makes the machine so good. And as I said before, there are a number of machines in the range. This is our sort of entry level, our medium model, our most popular, sort of the Ford Mondeo of hot foil machines. Good, strong, reliable, everyday machine. The other machines in the range, do have what's called a travelling or movable head. So instead of just being able to print something about an inch thick, we can print something up to about 6 inches thick. And then if you go even higher still, you have automated or semi-automated machines with foot pedals and also with rotary tables. So what I'd like to show you now is how to get a plate ready to go onto your flatbed machine. So this is the plate. It's magnesium, although you could use brass or copper. This one happens to be an 8 gauge magnesium plate, and again you can get a thinner one which would be a 16 gauge, or you could get a 3mm or a 5mm one. It really doesn't matter. Magnesium should last you somewhere between 50 and 60,000 impressions. So it is very simple to mount it on. First of all, I'm going to take a piece of card. This is just a black business card piece of board, and you'll notice what I've done already is use these 2 plastic cards here, which I've sellotaped down onto my print bed, and I'm just going to line up my piece of card so it sits snugly within that L-shaped jig. Now what I'm going to do is turn over the plate, and using die mounting tape, which is this rather strange looking brown material. In fact, it has no self-adhesive qualities, but when you heat it up, I can assure you it sticks very strongly to the heated plate. I'm just going to tear off a tiny piece and place it down in one corner of the die, and then I'm going to take another piece and again place it down in the other corner of the die. Now, when using die mounting tape on a die of this size, you don't really need much more than 2 pieces or small pieces of die mounting tape. If it was a slightly larger die, I might put 1 in each corner. If it was a full die that covered the whole print area, I might use 1 in each corner and maybe a couple of pieces in the centre. So what I'm going to do is to get my correct position, and it will be nearly correct. It might be out very, very slightly, but I'm just going to try and balance it there within the centre of the card. I'm going to place or put in my table and then bring the handle down. I'm probably working at about 130-35 degrees, and now as I bring the heated head down like so, the actual die will stick to the heated plate. I will then bring it up and it should have stuck onto the plate, and I bring the temperature down to my working temperature, probably somewhere between or around 105-110 degrees. Allow the machine to cool down until we're ready to start printing at the correct temperature. So what we're going to show you now is the path of the foil as you put it through to correctly load it onto your hot foil printer. So here we've got a roll of foil. Remember that when you put it onto your spool, you want it so it is the dull side facing down towards the printed item, and what you actually see is the shiny side. So we're going to feed the foil around this guide here and then around this guide here. Now what I want to show you is these guides can be raised or lowered, but the idea is to keep the foil just away, probably 3 or 4 millimeters or half a centimetre away from the heated plate, because you don't want the foil to be preheated before you make an impression, so you have the ability to move this guide up or down. If we come over to this side, you can see that I'm bringing the foil through. I'm then putting the foil this way, and then finally we are placing it just there, and as I bring the handle down, hopefully it should feed through. Now as it's fed through, it's just a little creased, but no worries. What I'm going to do is just lift up this roller, it's on a spring, and to straighten out the foil. I'm then going to place it here, and this is the foil take up, and there is a little tiny clip, or you could use a tiny piece of sellotape, because often you lose these clips. And now each time I bring the handle down, the foil will move on and the foil will rewind and it will take up the excess foil. I'm just going to show you that now, and here you can see, I'm going to do it a couple of times, you can see the foil feeding through and the excess foil being taken up. So what we're going to do is now make an impression. So I've got my black business card here. I'm placing it here on the lay guides that I've already created earlier on, so I know my positioning should be correct. I will then place my table forward into the machine, and by bringing the handle down I will make an impression. And hopefully, there we go. It's as simple as that. You have a foil printed business card that will cost you less than a penny to produce. As I alluded to earlier on in the video, there are other machines available in the Kobo range. This one is the Kobo TC851. It's the machine we use in our studio on a daily or weekly basis, and in fact is what they call their extra large version. It has a 9 by 12 inch print area, so considerably larger than the Kobo 338. And the main difference on this machine, whilst everything else you see is virtually similar, is just here where we can lower or raise the head of the machine up to about 6-7 inches, so we can put a much thicker item going through the machine. What I'm going to do now is an impression, so let me show you just how it works. Bring this out, and as luck would have it, at the moment we're doing these which are for the forthcoming BAFTA awards, and gives you an idea of a solid print area through a hand-operated machine. Well, thank you very much to listening me spout on about the Kobo hot foil machine. We do hope you'll have a look at the website and get more information, and we would be delighted to help you. Just go through the website and contact us on our email. Thank you.